And we're live. Alright, welcome back everyone. Another episode of MMA with Musty. Episode number 2, right here. We're getting started. We have a lot to talk about. If you noticed from last week, the only difference is I got my hair cut. I hadn't gotten my hair cut all quarantine, but finally made it happen yesterday. So I'm looking a little less hairy for the second episode of I don't even call it a podcast, but it's technically a podcast, but it's really just a talk show, But we're going to get right into it because we have a lot to talk about, as I just said. So what we're going to talk about today, obviously, the results from last night and Wednesday night. Lots of big fights. Lots of good prelim fights, lots of new guys the UFC are signing who are showing up, doing well. So we'll talk about that. And then we'll talk about, they just announced Adesanya versus Costa, which I am so excited for. I think that's going to be an amazing fight. Yes, they just announced that. So we'll get into that just a little bit. And then I'll just talk about what I'm going to do with the channel. I have some new ideas. And, yeah, so that'll be it. Let's jump into it. So I'll start with the two main events. I'll start with Kattar and Ige from Wednesday. Man, Calvin Kattar is so good. Going into the fight, I was saying, Kattar's gonna knock him out. Kattar's a monster. Ige really didn't look, I didn't think, amazing against Barboza. But looking back at it now in hindsight, I kind of see why I slept on Ige as a competitor, and I think that his stock actually went up even though he lost the fight, just because Calvin Kattar's looked so good lately, and Ige went 5 rounds with him, and the scorecards, I think it was 49-46, most of the scorecards, but it was a closer fight than that, Ige definitely made it interesting. I think Kattar actually looked better in the championship rounds, but all the rounds were close. No one got knocked down. Obviously, each guy landed a few big shots. Ige on Kattar's nose, and obviously, if you saw Ige's face after the fight, Kattar busted him up pretty well. But it was a close, competitive fight. I feel like Kattar wasn't able to. I credit this to Ige. He wasn't able to open up as much as he usually does. Obviously we saw there were some flashes where he'd throw one of his sick combos. Especially at the end of round 1 or 2, I think he came on really strong. But it was really Dan Ige who was kind of moving around, coming in with some fast shots, pushing the pace a little bit in the earlier rounds. And Calvin Kattar was never able to really, I feel like, sit on his shots due to the movement of Ige, which made it a competitive fight. But at the same time, Ige wasn't able to do enough. He was able to get in, back Kattar up, but he wasn't able to land really that many significant shots. And in the end, he wasn't able to take him down either. I think he was 0 for 8 on takedowns, something like that. Maybe 0 for 4. I don't know, but if you're gonna fight Kattar in a stand-up fight, you need to be an elite striker, a very elite striker. I'm convinced now after seeing Kattar's last few times out. And Denier, very good on the feet, but he was at a slight height disadvantage, and a slight size disadvantage too. That's something else I want to talk about, right? Ige, I don't know if it's possible for him to go down to 135. Obviously, you see guys like Volkanovski having success in the division, so maybe size isn't as big as an issue as I'm making it out to be. But I'm just looking at the top guys. I'm thinking about even the Edson Barboza fight. Which, looking back at it now, Edson is such a good striker. He was so much bigger than Ige, and for Ige to pull out a split decision or a decision, I think it was a split decision. Yeah, even though it was controversial, he was able to pull out the decision, which, looking back at it now, is more impressive than I first gave him credit for. But I'm looking at those fights. I'm looking at Barboza. I'm looking at like a guy like Zabit, even a guy like Brian Ortega, or Max Holloway, all really big guys. And I just see Ige kind of at a slight disadvantage in those fights for physical reasons, honestly. It has nothing to do with skill or toughness. Obviously, he could get a little better in certain departments of his game. And maybe he's too big for 135. I'm not sure, but I'm imagining him in there with some of those 135ers. And I think he just fits the division way more in terms of his physical makeup. And I think he could. I don't think the ceiling's the limit for him in that division. And you look at the champion Peter Yan. I personally see the belt changing hands multiple times in that division over the next year or two. Maybe I'm wrong, but at least the top 5, lots of guys in there. I feel like anyone could beat anyone on any given day. Maybe look for Ige to move down to 135. I haven't heard anyone suggest that. I mean, obviously it doesn't. He was on a 6-fight winning streak, so it's not necessary. But I just see him having more success at the top of that division as compared to 145. As for Kattar, I think it's really simple. What's next for Calvin Kattar? Everyone's making it out to be a puzzle. I have 2 suggestions. My main suggestion, because I'm advocating for a 3rd Holloway Volkanovski fight. I don't think you make Max fight anyone else. I think you just give him the trilogy, even though it's technically 2-0 Volkanovski. I think you make that happen. But what you could also do is you could put Holloway against Kattar next, because I just think that's a great fight. Or you could put Holloway against Zabit. I mean, there's so many matchups to be made, but let me get to what I really think should happen is if they go along with the trilogy, which I actually don't know if they will do, but for me, I would go along with the trilogy. I think the Ortega-Korean Zombie fight, that's something we all want to see. After the little beef with, I forget his name. Korean Zombie's friend and Ortega. After that, I think everyone really wants to see that fight. And I think everyone wants to see a 5-rounder between Zabit and Kattar. You could say Zabit won the fight, but there's always going to be doubters. And Calvin Kattar now on a 2-fight win streak where he's looked insanely good. I don't see a reason to not run it back with those 2 guys, especially if you're doing the trilogy fight between Holloway and Volkanovski. So yeah, I think that would be that's what I would personally do. Obviously, you can mix any of those guys together. You can mix together Korean Zombie, Holloway, Kattar, Ortega. Those are the 4 right now, and Zabit. So there's 5 guys really in the mix right now. Zabit, Holloway in no order, Kattar, and then the Korean Zombie and Ortega. Another thing to note is if you have Zabit fight Calvin Kattar and you have Ortega fight Korean Zombie, who gets the precedent? Who's the number 1 contender? I personally think it should be the winner of the Kattar versus Zabit fight. No shade to Brian Ortega, but I'm looking at his record. He hasn't fought since that Max Holloway fight. I know some stuff fell through and whatever, but he hasn't fought since the Max Holloway fight. And that's a fight that he lost handedly. Nothing against Brian Ortega, but Kattar and Zabit have more momentum if you're looking at it in terms of a win streak. So I say you make that Korean Zombie fight happen with between him and Ortega, and then you book Zabit versus Kattar for the number 1 contender slot, and then you do the trilogy between Volkanovski and Holloway. That's my opinion on that. But yeah, great fight between him and Ige, and I'm looking forward to seeing both of them back in there again. Both really entertaining guys. One sec. So now we'll go to the other main event, which is obviously Figueiredo versus Benavidez. Man, going into this one, I was expecting more of the same from the first fight, and I mean that's exactly what happened, right? Obviously, the UFC was trying to sell it like it was a headbutt, like it was a close fight. Then Benavidez got headbutted, then Figueiredo went in for the kill. I mean, the way I saw the fight, Figueiredo had a significant power advantage. He was outboxing Benavidez. He was out grappling Benavidez. And I just didn't like Benavidez going into this rematch. And it really looked like when the second fight started, it was just where the first fight left off. I mean, immediately almost inside the first minute, Figueiredo lands a right hook that put down Benavidez bad. I thought it was over right there. Benavidez, I tweeted today, I wasn't a big fan of Benavidez going into the fight just because I didn't like the way he was acting like the last fight was a fluke or whatever. But listen, I mean you gotta get your mind right going into these championship fights. It's the last shot at the title, and I was just thinking, most guys, I think if you include the WCs, he's had 5 title shots. Listen, things didn't go his way in the title fights, right? But like the resiliency to earn yourself another shot at the title over and over again, beating top guys over and over again. I mean, that right there is impressive. The guy's resilient. Even saw it last night. Defending off the choke, getting back up. But then when he got back up, he got caught with an uppercut, put down again, big right hand, put down again, and then choked all the way out. I mean, that wasn't a competitive fight. That was a butchering. I mean, Figueiredo, I don't know. Well, we'll get to who's next for him, but the real question is, who's beating him. Obviously, Benavidez. I mean, Benavidez's game. He beats most of these top flyweights. So I think the way Figueiredo was able to handle him is a testament to his skill, and I think he really is gonna be a problem at the top of that division. I think most people didn't really know about Figueiredo until the Benavidez fight. I was looking at his past record. He had a decision loss in 2019, but he seems to have gotten better because the way he performed against someone like Benavidez was super impressive. So what's next for him? Honestly, the flyweight division isn't that deep right now. You had Benavidez up there. He took the loss. So now, and then on the same card, the first fight of the main card last night was I got right here. Yeah, Askar Askarov. He fought the number 4 guy. I'm blanking on his name right now. It was a crazy fight, crazy grappling exchanges. Askarov was able to pull out the decision, and so there's 2 things you do now. If Figueiredo's ready to fight again, I say after Askarov got the win against a top 5 guy, you just feed him right to Figueiredo. Or what you could do is you could book the Marino rematch because for those of you who don't know, Askarov and Marino fought. I think it was it was pretty recent, and it was a draw. And Marino's ranked in the top 5 as well. Askarov just being the number 4 guy, so you could set up an easy number 1 contender fight between those 2 guys. But with Askarov's win, I could see them just giving him right to Figueiredo if he's ready to fight again, which I think he said he is. So yeah, it's pretty simple, that division right now. Unlike the bantamweight division where there's all this stuff going on, we'll get to that. I mean, I think the bantamweight division, it is pretty simple what should be done there. But Dana White talking like it's not. You know how Dana is, man. And yeah, but we'll move on now. Oh well, I have the bantamweight division written next, so we'll get right into that. Another big fight on Wednesday was Jimmy Rivera versus Mr. Stamen. Man, I blank on his name so hard. Cody Stamen, yeah, Cody Stamen. So yeah, Jimmy Rivera, Cody Stamen. Jimmy Rivera, a little bit of a layoff here. Man, he looked great. I know he said like he wasn't happy with his performance, with his camp, whatever. He looked great. In the pocket, he was too quick. He was just too nasty in the pocket. He was ripping to the body, ripping to the head. His wrestling, obviously, up to par with anyone in the division. So yeah, he looked really good in that performance, especially after a long layoff. I think he was ranked at number 7 or 8 going into that. And I think what you do next for Rivera, just looking at who's booked with who, I think you give him Corey Sandhagen next, who's coming off a loss, but he still has the number 4 spot. And that could get Rivera back into the top 5 and looking at a title shot very easily. But we do have to talk about the bantamweight division. Because here's the thing. I won't read too much into it, but Dana White was asked, if Aljamain Sterling is a lock for the next title shot, and he said, he's in there. He's in the mix of names. The mix of names, like, Dana, you have Marlon Moraes, the number 1 contender, versus Cody Garbrandt booked. Aljamain is the number 2 contender. Marlon Moraes is number 1. He's booked against number 3, Cody Garbrandt. Number 4 is Corey Sandhagen, who Aljamain Sterling just ran through in, I don't even know, I think it was under 2 minutes, choked him out unconscious. So, I think it's very clear that Aljamain Sterling deserves the next title shot. I don't even think there's a discussion. People saying, he's not that big of a draw, but you got Marlon Moraes versus Cody Garbrandt booked. You're not gonna wait for that fight to go down. I don't think so. Anyway, I mean, maybe Dana was just deflecting the question because he lets the matchmakers handle stuff, obviously, and he didn't want to say anything. But yeah, I thought that was figured out. Everyone was kind of shocked by that. I think Sterling still should get the next title shot, and I think that'll happen. But yeah, Jimmy Rivera, great win against a good guy in Cody Stamann. Looked solid. So next, so now we're just gonna talk about some of the. I mean, I got a lot of prelim fights written down here, especially from last night and even Wednesday. Lots of these guys on the prelims, man, showing out, really looking good. But before that, the one fight from Wednesday that I wanted to talk about, besides the Rivera fight, the other one was the Munir Lazez versus Alsa Hassan. Alsa Hassan, big betting favorite going into that fight. He hadn't fought in 2 years, obviously, but every time we've seen him, insane KO power, just knocking dudes out in the first round. You get Lazez in there with him, and he's just so technically sharp. He's tall. He's got knees, hands, kicks, elbows, everything. He was absorbing the best shots from Alsa Hassan, and he looked incredible in there. Putting together combos, absorbing big shots. Really well-rounded performance from him. And he's definitely on the radar now at 170 after that performance. I just thought I'd mention it just because I really hadn't heard of him too much before that fight, but looking at him now, I mean, that was a great performance against a really dangerous guy. So look for him in the future. Bettors look for him in the future. He was looking nice in his last fight. The other guy I want to talk about off the Wednesday card on the prelims, who lost me some cash actually, was Khamzat Chimaev. Man, another Dagestani coming out. First fight in the UFC. I mean, he looked insane. He looked insane in that fight against John Phillips. It was horrible. It was a bludgeoning. Hard to watch. He comes out, kicks him, tries to kick him in the head, takes him down immediately. Mauls him the entire round. Comes out in the second round, takes him down immediately, starts putting it on him, locks up a Darce choke. And the funniest part about this whole thing is that, in true Dagestani Russian style, I just saw it looking at the Whitaker Till card on next Saturday. Chimaev's fighting again. He's fighting again next Saturday. So a week and a half later, he's back in there, looking to stay undefeated. And I mean, I think he will. I think he'll break into the top 15 rather quickly, just with the way he looked on Wednesday. So yeah, look out for Khamzat Chimaev out of Dagestan, looking like a dominant wrestler. He's drawing Khabib comparisons. I kind of see it. He was really good at controlling Phillips on the ground, who's a veteran. He was using the wrist ride. That's a really good position in MMA that we've seen Khabib use a lot. The Dagestani wrist ride is what they were calling it. So yeah, look for him. And then last night we had some big fights. Before I get to the main card, I'll start with the prelims. These names are so hard. Arman Sarkisian against Davey Ramos. looked great. I mean, Ron was a great fighter, especially on the ground. He didn't really give Sarkhan any issues on the ground. But on the feet was really where Armand showed out. He looked great on the feet. As the fight went on, he kept getting better and better, to the point where in the third round, he was just totally dominating the fight. Got a shout out from Joe Rogan on Instagram, so that's when you know that that you put on a great performance on the prelims. So look out for him in the future. I thought that was a great fight. The other fight that I thought was a great fight on the prelims was Amir Albizi. Huge win against Malcolm Gordon. Lots of people were liking Malcolm Gordon as the underdog going into that fight. Albizi totally outclassed him, man. He really did. On the feet, got it to the ground, knocked up the triangle in round 1. First triangle of the year in the UFC. So another bright star coming up. And then lastly, the feature prelim was Roman Dolidze. I think that's how you say it. I mean, massive KO. Massive KO. It looked like he was setting up that head kick the whole first round. Started out kind of slow. Then boom, launched the head kick. Perfect timing. And that was a nasty knockout. He stays undefeated. I think he's 7-0 now. Look for him to probably be back soon and maybe score another big knockout. So moving on to the main card from last night. I'm gonna talk about the Fiziev-Jacasey fight and the Hermanson-Gastelum fight. Obviously, man, Rafael Fiziev, insanely legit, man. Mark Jacasey, he's the guy who burst onto the scene. Great athlete, right? But then he went in against Dan Hooker. He went in against another tough guy. Went on a 2-fight skid. His cardio was looking questionable. His grappling was looking questionable. He was kind of just looking like one of those first round guys come out hot, but not much to back it up. Then we saw a change in his game. He really seemed to evolve as a fighter because he was kind of forced to. Won 2 fights in a row. Was looking really good. So going into last night, I expected him to win the fight, but he was against a guy with 100 of pro kickboxing matches in Rafael Fiziev, and man, I mean, Fiziev, he came out guns blazing. I mean, the sounds of the body kicks that he was throwing were absolutely insane. It sounded like a gunshot whiplash type of thing. I was super impressed. I thought Jacasey, Jacasey made it competitive, especially in the third round. He did some solid work, stayed in the fight, but it was a kickboxing match, and what I saw from Fiziev, I saw some decent grappling out of him too, but I saw that on the feet at least, you really don't want to be there with him because he throws everything with an insane amount of power. Really good with the kicks, with the knees, throws heat with the hands too. Just looked great. I was wondering, what's next for him? Does he get a shot at the top 15? If he does, who? I got 2 names that I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of Drew Dober, who just knocked out Alex Hernandez. I was gonna say Aaron Hernandez. Alex Hernandez, big knockout. He's on a big win streak. The only difficulty I see with that fight is Drew Dober's been around for a while, right? And the way he was talking about, he wants to move up in the rankings. So I think he wants to fight someone ahead of him, not someone who's unranked. So if that fight can't come to surface, if you're going to give him Fiziev a ranked opponent, another guy that comes to mind is Islam Makhachev. Obviously, he has some... I think he was supposed to fight Dope originally. I think those two were linked together. So maybe, I think both those guys probably fight someone in the top 15 next. And Fiziev needs to either fight one of the other guys, maybe the 14 guy, the 13 guy, or someone unranked again. But looking at the names in the lightweight division, I just think those two matchups stylistically would be very interesting. So now we'll go on to the big middleweight co-main. You had Jack Hermanson coming back in against Kelvin Gastelum, who's obviously coming off that 2-fight L streak to Adesanya and Till. In the Till fight, that was probably Gastelum's worst performance to date because he had looked so good. Even not Adesanya fight, he looked good. In all his fights before that, he was looking super sharp. So the Till fight was kind of a step down. He was looking to get back on track here against Hermanson, who, let me just remind myself, I think was also coming off a loss. Yeah, he was coming off the knockout loss to Jared Cannonier. But here's the thing, right? Easy heel hook victory for Jack Hermanson last night. I thought that he would give Kelvin some issues on the ground, but I thought it would be more with like some top pressure kind of, just grinding him out, being the stronger man, the more physical guy. But he locked up a really nice heel hook really early, got Gastelum, who was forced to tap. It was a great performance. Obviously, I think Gastelum, was showing up really looking to get back on the right track, but Hermanson shows up and he's like, hey, I want to be in the top 5, and the only fight that makes sense next is a Jared Cannonier rematch, just because if I take a look at my rankings again, and this is if you're trying to book these guys right now, we could obviously wait to see what happens with Till and Whitaker on Saturday. Yeah, actually, I changed my mind. New plan. Cannonier, you could book the rematch between him and Hermanson, but he beat Hermanson pretty soundly, knocked him out. Here's what I say we do. I say you throw Whitaker and Till in there next Saturday, right? That's a great fight. The winner of that fight, I don't think is clearly in line for a title shot after that win. Obviously, Till would have a good case for it because he's a star. A win over Gastelum, a win over the number 1 contender in Whitaker. But Cannonier is the dark horse of this division. He's sitting there waiting for a next fight. I say you give Cannonier the winner of the Whitaker-Till fight, and then you have a clear number 1 contender post Adesanya Costa. And then you give the loser of that fight to Jack Hermanson. I think that's what you do if it all works out that way. I think that would be a good plan for the 185 division. And man, looking at this top 5, Whitaker, Costa, Cannonier, Romero, Till, and then 6 is Hermanson right now. I mean, that's a doghouse right there. I love the middleweight division. I think there's always great fights in the middleweight division. And there's always great talent in the middleweight division. Obviously, the two correlate. But I'm a big fan of that division, which, actually, before we get into Costa Adesanya, we'll talk about Kelvin Gastelum a little bit. I'm seeing a lot of on Twitter, should Kelvin Gastelum move down to 170, Obviously, there's a lot of talk that he only fights at 185 because it's easier in terms of not having to be disciplined with his diet, cut weight, whatever. Which might partially be true, because there have been some rumors that the Kelvin Gastelum's 170 issues were kind of self-inflicted. But either way, does he move down to 170? I mean, I say probably, just because of that logjam, not even a logjam, but just that insane amount of talent that he'd have to get through to get another shot at 185. But for a 3-fight losing skid, I don't think he's in jeopardy, really. He's only 28, right? Got caught in the heel hook last night, obviously, which was a great performance by Hermanson. But if you give him someone next, preferably, who I had written down was Martin Vettori, who just is getting off a big win. You throw him in there with Vettori, you throw him in there with one of the guys ranked below him in the division, preferably like 10 through 15. Don't give him like an awful matchup. I don't think Hermanson was the best matchup for him. If he performs well, he's right back in the mix. But I could also see the 170 move being a possibility. Great thing being he's 28. He has some time to figure it out still. Not too worried about Kelvin Gastelum. So I have 2 more things written down. We actually moved through this pretty quickly. We did have a lot to talk about, but this is why, by the way, if anyone wants to come and talk about MMA through Skype or something, I'd be more than glad to. When I post the episodes to the channel, if someone wants to co-host with me, I'd be more than glad to accept a co-host. I don't have stringent requirements. Just gotta watch the sport. That's really all that you need to do. But yeah, I definitely moved through it more quickly because there's no one countering me, bringing up points, making me. I'm really just reminding myself of things by speaking into this mic. But yeah, we'll keep it going. Costa Adesanya, big announcement. I've been following obviously both of them on Instagram and Twitter. Adesanya, self-proclaimed meme lord. Look at go on Costa's Twitter. Paulo Costa is a meme lord, an absolute meme lord. Some of the stuff that man says on his Twitter, absolutely hysterical. But man, when do you get two undefeated fighters in a title fight in a division like 185? That's insane. You got Adesanya, I think it's 18-0 versus Costa 15-0. And this is just a clash of two styles, right? You got big buff Paulo Costa going in there against, the slick former pro kickboxer, counter striker in Israel Adesanya. The way I'm putting it is this fight is going to be what the Romero Adesanya fight should have been, because Paulo Costa is going to walk forward. He's going to try to take Israel Adesanya's head off. He's going to try to crush his rib cage in. And obviously Israel Adesanya isn't going to let that happen super easily. He's super slick, great footwork, great movement, great everything on the feet. So they're going to clash, and someone's going to come out on top. I don't see that fight going the distance. Obviously it's going to I'd say favor Adesanya if he's able to move it into the later rounds. But Costa's going to come out like a rocket ship. He's going to come out on fire. It's going to be insane. That fight's going to be fireworks. I'd say there's no way that isn't a crazy title fight. Just because also of the bad blood between them. But yeah, super excited for that fight. And then lastly, we have news from the manager of Dominance MMA, Ali Abdelaziz, who obviously, likes to talk a lot, but he did give us some valuable information. He said he sees Khabib Nurmagomedov fighting again in 2020 against Justin Gaethje, which is great. Obviously Khabib hasn't made a statement since his father passed away, which is super sad. We all know that his father was basically made the decisions for him, told him what he thinks his next move should be, and Khabib took all his advice, took all his wisdom, and no one was really sure if Khabib would take some time off, if he would retire, if he would come back, fight right away. It's looking like he's gonna continue fighting, and in 2020, which is great news, against Justin Gaethje. The other interesting piece of information that Ali said was that Khabib told Gaethje, go fight Conor McGregor, and then I'll fight you after that. Gaethje said, no, I don't want to fight Conor McGregor, I want to fight you, man. Listen, this is the whole thing that's going on there is, right, you got Ali managing Khabib and Gaethje. An extreme dislike for Conor McGregor. So he's basically trying to stall out McGregor, which he's successfully doing. He manages the two top guys in the lightweight division. If McGregor wants to fight at lightweight, it'd have to be against someone like Poirier or Tony Ferguson, which I don't think is enough reward for him, right? So Ali effectively has a stranglehold on McGregor right now, and I think he's enjoying it a lot. He's offering him Usman, his 170 champion, a weight class up. So I guess kudos to you, Ali, man, for being able to do this. I don't approve of it personally. I'm not a big fan of the way he talks. You're the manager, That's just my opinion. You're the manager. You shouldn't be sitting there calling the shots, being so vocal and whatever. But that's the way he is. forced Conor McGregor into retirement, basically, which is pretty impressive. But yeah, so that is all I wanted to discuss today. What I'll be doing is, well, first off, if you don't know, you're about to know that I've been posting UFC 3 vids on this channel. I'll probably post another one today along with this podcast. They're fun. The game's fun. And I also stream on Twitch. I changed my @ to MMA With Musty. So it's consistent with all the other, the channel name and the social media names. The Twitch is a great time. I've been trying to go on there every day. If you follow me on Instagram, @ MMA With Musty, I'll always announce on there when I'm going live on Twitch. And, tune in. It's a great time. You could play. You could watch. You could trash talk in the comments. I don't care. But yeah. And also check out my Twitter and my Instagram. As I just said, they're both MMA With Musty. Because on my Instagram, I give away my picks for the fights, which I'm going to start doing on YouTube too. I'm going to start doing like a detailed analysis of each fight before like each Saturday. Like say who's going to win, why I think they're going to win, name some good bets for that guy, throw some parlays. But my picks are pretty good. The main card, I had a rough spot last night in the middle with the women's fight, and then with the Casey fight and the Gaslam fight. But other than that, 6 for 7 on the prelims. Got Askarov winning that fight as the underdog. Got the main event right. I've been on fire with the picks lately. I was on fire a lot when the UFC first came back, that Gaethje Ferguson fight, and the 2 weeks following that. I don't think for the main cards, I don't think I missed a pick. Not to brag or anything, but if you want picks, I give some pretty decent picks, totally free. Yeah, and I'll be posting them on here and discussing them more in detail. For those of you who may doubt my picks. But yeah, that'll be it for the episode. Obviously, I mentioned everything I wanted to mention apart from this. Yeah, I'm looking to post add those like fight predictions into the channel as a sort of new content sort of thing. Because right now it's just this and the UFC 3 videos. If you have any suggestions, if you want to talk MMA, anything, leave it in the comments. Drop a like. Please subscribe. I'm trying to just grow this channel right now. So, yeah, and another thing, yeah, I'm really trying to build something the way I'm looking at it right now, where the whole MMA community can kind of just have a platform to discuss things. I'm hoping that this could turn into a sort of thing where I'm having multiple guests on, off Twitter, off Instagram, to just come, talk, debate, whatever. But yeah, that's really it for this one. I'll be back with the fight predictions for Saturday. We got Whitaker versus Till. That fight's a banger. And if you made it all the way to the end, thank you so much. And I'll see you guys next time.